The war had been going on for 37 years. Every day, ships exploded in the darkness of space. Every night, families on 100 different worlds waited for news that would never come. The Caliph Empire and the Zoran Collective had forgotten why they started fighting. They only remembered how to keep fighting. Admiral Vex stood on the bridge of his massive warship, watching another battle through the large window. His blue skin looked tired. Deep lines marked his face from years of war. Around him, his officers worked at glowing crystal panels. The sounds of battle filled the air, explosions, warning beeps, and the hum of energy weapons. "Sir, the Zoran fleet is moving toward our left flank," reported his tactical officer. The young Caliph's voice shook slightly. This was probably his first real battle. Vex nodded slowly. He had seen this same move 1,000 times before. The Zoran always tried to attack from the side. They would send their bioships in a curved formation, hoping to break through the Caliph crystal shields. It never worked anymore. Both sides knew each other's tricks too well. "Rotate crystal formation 7, Vex ordered. Increase shield power to maximum." The Caliph ships moved like a dance they had performed many times. Their crystal hulls caught the light from the nearby star, sending rainbow patterns across space. Each ship was beautiful and deadly, covered in sharp crystal growths that could slice through metal. On the other side of the battle, Commander Threx felt his bioship pulse under his feet. The living vessel breathed around him, its walls warm and slightly wet. Green lights flickered along the organic corridors like veins carrying blood. His ship was alive, grown rather than built, and it wanted to fight. "The Caliph are forming their usual defense," his second-in-command reported. The Zoran officer's voice came through a throat that was more machine than flesh. Many Zoran had replaced parts of their bodies with biomechanical upgrades over the years of war. Threx touched the wall of his ship. He could feel its eagerness for battle through his palm. The bioships were hungry. They fed on energy from destroyed enemy vessels. After 37 years of war, they had grown strong and smart, maybe too smart. "Begin attack pattern 12, Threx commanded. "Tell the fleet to prepare for close combat." The Zoran ships moved forward like living creatures swimming through space. Their hulls rippled and changed color as they prepared for battle. Some ships split apart, becoming two smaller vessels. Others grew new weapons from their sides like sprouting limbs. This was how every battle went. The Caliph would form their crystal formations. The Zoran would attack with their bioships. Hundreds would die. Nothing would change. Tomorrow they would do it again. The two fleets crashed together in a storm of light and destruction. Crystal beams cut through space, leaving trails of blue energy. Bioweapons fired living projectiles that hunted their targets like angry animals. Ships on both sides exploded in bright flashes, adding their metal and flesh to the growing debris. Field around the planet below. The planet was called Nexus Prime. Once it had been a beautiful world with blue oceans and green continents. Now, it was a dead rock covered in the wreckage of 1,000 battles. Both sides wanted it because deep in its core lay deposits of Nethys, a rare mineral that powered their most advanced technology. Neither side could mine the Nethys anymore. The constant fighting made it impossible to land on the planet safely, but neither side would let the other have it either. So they fought and died over a treasure that neither could claim. Captain Jake Morrison of the human exploration ship knew. Frontier was checking star charts when the alarms started ringing. His small ship had been mapping this region of space for 3 months. Humans were new to this part of the galaxy. They were curious about what lay beyond their own solar system. "Captain, I'm picking up massive energy readings," called out Lieutenant Lisa Grant from her position at the communications station. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls as data flooded her screens. "Sir, these readings are off the charts. It looks like a full-scale war." Jake moved to look over her shoulder. The display showed energy signatures unlike anything in human records. Ships were fighting and dying just a few light hours away from their position. "How many ships?" Jake asked. Lisa worked at her controls for several minutes. "I count over 600 vessels, sir. 2 distinct groups. They're tearing each other apart out there? Chief Engineer Pete Collins looked up from his station. Captain, with energy discharges that large, there have to be thousands of people dying every minute. Jake felt his stomach tighten. Humans had fought wars before, but nothing on this scale. The largest space battle in human history had involved maybe 50 ships. This was beyond anything they had imagined. Sir, Lisa said quietly, I'm detecting debris fields. Lots of them. This isn't a recent battle. These readings suggest this fighting has been going on for a very long time. Jake made his decision quickly. Send a message to Admiral Hayes on the Liberty. Tell her we found something she needs to. See, include all our sensor data. The Liberty was the flagship of the human exploration fleet. Admiral Susan Hayes commanded 12 ships on humanity's first major expedition beyond Earth's local star group. They were scientists and diplomats, not soldiers. But they were the only humans in this region of space. The message reached Admiral Hayes 6 hours later. She studied the data in her private quarters aboard the Liberty, her coffee growing cold. As she read report after report, the scale of destruction was hard to believe. 2 entire civilizations were destroying themselves over something humans couldn't even identify. Hayes called her senior staff to the main briefing room, the Liberty's conference room was simple and functional, with a large table surrounded by comfortable chairs. Earth's blue and green surface looked back at them from a picture on the wall. Ladies and gentlemen, Hayes began, we've discovered something unprecedented. 2 alien civilizations are engaged in what appears to be a war of total destruction. Our estimates suggest this conflict has been ongoing for decades. Commander Paul Rivers, her tactical officer, studied the data on his tablet. Admiral, the energy readings suggest weapons far beyond our current technology. If they turn those weapons on us, they could destroy our entire fleet without breaking stride, Hayes finished. I know, Paul, but that's not what concerns me most. Dr. Alex Carter, the fleet's xenobiologist, raised his hand. Admiral, are we certain these are 2 different species? The biological readings are quite different from anything in our databases. Confirmed, Doctor. We're looking at our first contact with not 1, but 2 alien civilizations. And they're in the process of wiping each other out. The room fell silent. Humanity had dreamed of meeting alien life for centuries. Now they had found it, and it was. Busy committing mutual genocide, Hayes stood and walked to the window. Space looked peaceful from here, just stars and darkness. But she knew that somewhere out there, people were dying in numbers that made human wars look like small arguments. Ma'am, asked Lieutenant Colonel Sam Davis, what are our orders? Hayes turned back to face her officers. These were good people, scientists and explorers who had volunteered to represent humanity among the stars. None of them had expected to find a war zone. We're going in, Hayes said simply. Humanity doesn't stand by while civilizations destroy themselves. We're going to try to stop this war. Commander Rivers looked concerned. Admiral, with respect, we're outnumbered 600 to 12. Our weapons are primitive compared to theirs. How do we stop a war between species that have been fighting longer than most of our crew have been alive? Hayes smiled for the first time since receiving the report. Paul, you're thinking like a soldier. Sometimes the best way to win isn't to fight at all. Sometimes you just have to be smarter than the people who are fighting. She looked around the room at her officers. Each face showed doubt mixed with determination. They trusted her, but they were scared. Hayes understood that feeling. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to make history. Whether that history shows us as heroes or fools will depend on the next few days. But I'll tell you this, I'd rather be remembered as the humans who tried to save 2 civilizations than the ones who watched them die. The meeting ended with orders to prepare the fleet for entry into the war zone. As her officers filed out, Hayes remained at the window, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, Admiral Vex and Commander Threx were preparing for another day of endless battle. They had no idea that everything was about to change. The human fleet moved slowly toward the war zone. Admiral Hayes stood on the bridge of the Liberty, watching her 12 ships form a careful line. They looked tiny compared to the massive alien vessels fighting in the distance. But Hayes had learned something important during her years in space. Size didn't always matter. Sometimes being small meant being smart. "Admiral, we're receiving signals from both alien fleets," reported Communications Officer Danny White. "They've noticed us. Both sides are demanding we identify ourselves." Hayes nodded. "Put me on all frequencies, Danny. Let's introduce ourselves to the galaxy." The message went out in every direction, carried by radio waves and quantum signals. "This is Admiral Susan Hayes of the Human Exploration Fleet. We come in peace, seeking dialogue with both civilizations. We wish to help end this conflict." The response was immediate and hostile. Admiral Vex appeared on the main screen first. His blue skin looked darker than usual, and his crystal armor reflected the bridge lights in angry patterns. "Unknown vessels, you enter a war zone without permission. Identify your allegiance or be destroyed." A second screen lit up next to the first. Commander Threx's biomechanical face stared at them through cameras that looked like living eyes. "Humans, we know nothing of your species. This conflict does not concern you. Leave now or face the consequences." Hayes looked at both alien commanders calmly. "Gentlemen, this conflict concerns anyone who values life. Thousands of your people are dying every day. Your economies are collapsing. Your worlds are being destroyed. I'm offering to help you find a peaceful solution." Vex laughed, a sound like crystal chimes in a storm. "Peace? Human, you understand nothing. The Zoran broke sacred treaties. They attacked our colonies without warning. There can be no peace until they pay for their crimes." Threx's biomechanical voice buzzed with anger. "The Caliph speak lies. They invaded our space first. They stole our technology and claimed it as their own. We fight for justice, not conquest." Hayes had expected this. Every war she had studied in human history started the same way. Both sides claimed to be victims. Both sides claimed to fight for justice. Both sides forgot what they were really fighting for. "I propose a meeting," Hayes said. "Neutral ground. You can each bring your full story to an impartial mediator. Let's see if we can find the truth underneath all this anger." Both alien commanders looked suspicious. Vex spoke first. "Where would this meeting take place?" "Every system in this region belongs to one side or the other." Hayes had already thought of this. "There's an old trading station in the Nexus system, Harmony Station. It's been abandoned since your war began. Perfect neutral ground." Commander Threx's living ship pulsed with thought. "Why should we trust a species we've never met? How do we know you're not working with our enemies?" "Because," Hayes said simply, "we have nothing to gain from your war except the sadness of watching good people die for bad reasons. Give me 48 hours. If I can't show you a path to peace, you can go back to killing each other." The negotiations took 6 hours. Both sides demanded security guarantees. Both sides wanted to bring weapons and guards. Both sides insisted the other side couldn't be trusted. Hayes listened patiently and made compromises where she could. Finally, she cut through the arguments. "Gentlemen, if you don't trust each other enough for a simple meeting, how do you expect to ever find peace? Either you want to stop this war or you don't. Make your choice." Harmony Station hung in space like a metal flower, its docking arms spread wide to welcome ships that no longer came. It had been built 50 years ago when the Caliph and Zoran were allies and trading partners. Now it was a ghost, circling. A dead world in a forgotten corner of space. Dr. Alex Carter and Dr. Maria Santos worked frantically aboard the human transport ship Discovery. They had less than 24 hours to learn enough about both alien languages to serve as translators. Their computers processed thousands of intercepted communications, looking for patterns in common words. "The Caliph language is based on harmonic frequencies," Dr. Santos reported. "They literally sing their words. The pitch and tone carry as much meaning as the actual sounds." Dr. Carter nodded, studying biological data from long-range scans. "The Zoran are more interesting. They seem to communicate through a combination of voice, biochemical signals, and electromagnetic pulses. Their biomechanical implants add another layer of complexity. While the scientists worked on communication, Admiral Hayes prepared for the most important diplomatic meeting in human history. She chose her team carefully. Lieutenant Commander Rick Thompson had experience in crisis negotiation. Cultural analyst Helen Parker had studied every piece of alien communication they had intercepted. "Remember," Hayes told her team, "we're not here to take sides. We're here to find truth and build bridges. These people have been fighting so long they've forgotten how to talk to each other." The Caliph delegation arrived first. Admiral Vex brought 6 crystal-armored guards and 2 advisors. Their ship was beautiful, all smooth curves and glowing panels. It docked with Harmony Station like a jewel settling into a setting, the Zoran. Delegation came an hour later. Commander Threx's bio-ship looked more like a living creature than a spacecraft. Its docking procedure was organic and slightly disturbing as the ship seemed to grow connections to the station rather than simply attaching to it. Both groups entered the station's main conference room at the same time. The room had been designed for mixed species meetings with adjustable gravity, atmosphere, and lighting. Hayes had set it to accommodate both alien species as comfortably as possible. The tension was immediate and obvious. Caliph guards fingered their crystal weapons. Zoran bio-warriors made low threatening sounds. Both groups had clearly fought each other many times before. "Gentlemen," Hayes said through the translation system, "please be seated. We have a lot to discuss." Admiral Vex spoke first, his crystalline voice making the translator hum with harmonic overtones. "Human mediator, you must understand the depth of Zoran treachery. 37 years ago, they violated the Treaty of Distant Stars. They attacked our research station at Kepler 7 without warning or declaration of war." Commander Threx's response was immediate. "The Caliph lie as easily as they breathe. We attacked nothing. They invaded our space and stole our biotechnology. When we demanded its return, they claimed it was their own invention." Hayes listened. As both sides presented their versions of history, the stories were completely different. According to the Caliph, they had been peaceful researchers who were attacked by aggressive Zoran expansionists. According to the Zoran, they had been defending their territory from Caliph invaders who stole their scientific discoveries. Doxantus whispered in Hayes' ear, "Admiral, I'm detecting stress indicators in both languages." They both believe what they're saying is true. This was the problem with wars that lasted too long. Truth became myth. Facts became stories. Both sides had convinced themselves they were the victims, making peace nearly impossible. "Let's talk about the present instead of the past," Hayes suggested. "What do you both hope to achieve by continuing this war?" Vex straightened in his chair. "We fight for justice. The Zoran must pay for their crimes and return what they stole." Threx's biomechanical features shifted into what might have been a sneer. "We fight for survival. The Caliph will not stop until our entire civilization is destroyed." "And what about the Nethys?" Hayes asked quietly. Both alien commanders fell silent. This was the first time anyone had mentioned the rare mineral that both sides claimed to be fighting over. "The Nethys belongs to the Caliph Empire by right of discovery," Vex said finally. "We found it first, we mapped the system. We established mining rights. The Zoran Collective has older claims to the Nexus system," Threx countered. "Our ancestors explored these stars when the Caliph were still confined to their home world." Hayes looked at both leaders carefully. "Gentlemen, when was the last time either of you actually mined any Nethys from Nexus Prime?" Another long silence. Finally, Vex admitted the truth. "The constant fighting makes mining operations impossible, but the principle remains important." "So, you're fighting over something neither of you can use," Hayes said. "Thousands of your people die every day for a mineral that sits untouched on a dead world." Commander Threx stood up angrily. "You oversimplify, human. This war is about more than minerals. It's about honor. It's about justice. It's about things your young species couldn't possibly understand." Hayes remained calm. "You're right. Humans are young. We've only been in space for a few decades. But we've learned something important in that time. Honor doesn't feed hungry children. Justice doesn't rebuild destroyed worlds. Pride doesn't bring back the dead. She stood and walked to the conference room's large window. Outside, the debris of countless battles drifted in space like a metal graveyard. "Look out there," Hayes said. "Those aren't just broken ships. They're broken families, broken dreams, broken futures." Every piece of metal floating in that debris field was once part of someone's home, someone's hope, someone's life. The room stayed quiet for a long time. Finally, Admiral Vex spoke. "What do you propose, human? How does a species that have never faced real war presume to end one that has lasted longer than your entire civilization?" The ceasefire held for exactly 18 hours before the first shots were fired again. A Caliph patrol ship detected what they thought was a Zoran spy probe near their supply lines. They destroyed it without asking questions. The probe turned out to be a piece of 30-year-old space junk. Admiral Hayes watched the battle reports flow across her screen and rubbed her tired eyes. Both alien fleets had pulled back from Nexus Prime as promised, but they couldn't stop shooting at each other completely. 37 years of war had made violence their automatic response to everything. "Admiral," reported Commander Paul Rivers. "From his station, the shooting has stopped again, but both fleets are moving into aggressive positions. I don't think this ceasefire will last much longer." Hayes nodded. She had expected this. People who had been fighting for decades didn't suddenly become peaceful just because someone asked them to stop. Trust had to be built slowly, like constructing a bridge one stone at a time. "Paul, I want complete tactical analyses of both fleets. Not for attack purposes, but for understanding. I need to know how they think, how they fight, and most importantly, why they can't win." While Commander Rivers worked on military analysis, Dr. Sarah Kim set up her computers in the Liberty Science Lab. As the fleet's strategic analyst, her job was to study patterns and find weaknesses. But instead of looking for ways to defeat the aliens, she was looking for ways to save them from themselves. The data was fascinating and depressing at the same time. Both civilizations had been trapped in their war for so long that they had forgotten how to do anything else. Their entire economies now focused on building weapons and training soldiers. Their best scientists spent their time creating new ways to kill instead of new ways to live. "Admiral," Dr. Kim called Hayes to the lab after 2 days of analysis. "You need to see this. I've been studying their battle patterns and something very strange is happening." Hayes joined the doctor at a large display showing the movements of both fleets over the past month. Colored lines tracked ship positions and battle formations like a complex dance chart. "Look at this pattern," Dr. Kim pointed to a section of the display. "The Caliph always attack from the same 3 directions. The Zoran always respond with the same 5 defensive moves. Both sides know exactly what the other will do, but they keep doing it anyway." Hayes studied the data carefully. "They're not fighting to win anymore, they're just following a script." "Exactly, watch this." Dr. Kim ran a simulation showing the next likely battle. The computer predicted ship movements with 97% accuracy. Their war has become a ritual. Both sides go through the motions of fighting, people die, nothing changes, and then they do it again tomorrow. This was worse than Hayes had thought. The aliens weren't just stuck in a war, they were stuck in a pattern that made victory impossible for either side. They had created a perfect balance of destruction that could continue forever. Captain Jake Morrison led a small team of ships on reconnaissance missions around the edges of the battle zone. Their job was to observe without being seen, gathering information about alien technology and tactics. What they found surprised everyone. "Admiral," Morrison reported during his daily briefing, "these civilizations are incredibly advanced in some ways and completely backwards in others. Their weapons technology is centuries ahead of ours, but their strategic thinking is primitive." Dr. Tony Rodriguez, the fleet's chief physicist, had been analyzing energy readings from alien weapons. The Caliph crystal technology can focus energy with incredible precision. A single shot from one of their main guns could probably destroy one of our ships completely. "But they're using it wrong." "How so?" Hayes asked. "They're fighting like it's still the early days of their war. Small unit tactics, individual ship actions, honor-based combat. They have the tools for massive coordinated strikes, but they're not using them. The Zoran were equally puzzling. Their bioships could adapt to almost any situation, growing new weapons and defenses as needed. But they never seemed to learn from previous battles. Each engagement was treated as a completely separate event, with no memory of what had worked or failed before. Dr. Alex Carter spent his time studying biological samples collected from the battle debris. The Zoran biotechnology was unlike anything in human science. Their ships were literally alive, with organic computers and living weapon systems. The interesting thing, Dr. Carter explained to Hayes, is that these bioships are actually getting smarter over time. They're learning and evolving. But their crews aren't listening to them. What do you mean? The ships are trying to suggest new tactics, new approaches to combat. But the Zoran commanders ignore these suggestions because they don't fit with traditional military doctrine. They're letting pride override intelligence. Meanwhile, Dr. Maria Santos continued her work on alien languages and psychology. She had made an important discovery about how both species thought about conflict and resolution. Admiral, both civilizations have concepts of honor and justice that make compromise almost impossible, she reported. In Caliph culture backing, down from a fight is considered worse than death. In Zoran society, forgetting an injury to the collective is seen as betrayal of their ancestors. Hayes felt a cold weight in her stomach. So they literally can't make peace even if they want to? Not in any way they would recognize as honorable. To them, our suggestion of sharing the Nethys isn't a compromise, it's surrender. Both sides would rather die than accept what they see as defeat. This was the real problem. The war wasn't just about resources or territory anymore. It had become about identity. Both species had defined themselves by their conflict with the other. Without the war, they didn't know who they were. Hayes called her senior staff together for an emergency meeting. The Liberty's conference room felt smaller than usual as her officers gathered around the table. Everyone looked tired and frustrated. Ladies and gentlemen, Hayes began, we have a bigger problem than I initially thought. These people aren't just fighting over a mineral. They're fighting because not fighting would destroy their sense of who they are. Commander Rivers looked grim. So what do? We can't change an entire civilization's psychology in a few days. Maybe we don't have to, said Dr. Rodriguez thoughtfully. What if we change the rules of the game instead of trying to change the players? Hayes leaned forward. Explain. Both sides are stuck in patterns they can't break. But what if something external forced them to break those patterns? What if the game itself changed so dramatically that their old ways of thinking became obviously useless? Dr. Kim nodded enthusiastically. Like introducing a new technology that makes their current weapons obsolete. Or finding so much Nethys that fighting over it becomes pointless. Actually, Dr. Rodriguez said slowly, we might be able to do exactly that. I've been analyzing the Nethy samples we collected. The mineral has some very interesting properties. He activated a holographic display showing the molecular structure of Nethys. It's basically a quantum energy storage medium. Very rare in nature, but the interesting thing is its quantum signature. Our industrial replicators should be able to synthesize it. The room fell silent. If humans could create artificial Nethys, the entire foundation of the war would collapse. How much could we produce? Hayes asked. With our current equipment? Maybe enough to supply both civilizations for decades? If we got serious about it and built dedicated facilities, we could probably make the stuff so common that it would be worthless. Hayes felt the first spark of real hope since this crisis began. How long would it take? To prove the concept? Maybe a week. To produce meaningful quantities? A month or two? We don't have a month, Hayes said. The ceasefire is already breaking. Down. We need a solution now, Dr. Santos spoke up. Admiral, what if we don't need to actually produce the Nethys right away? What if we just need to prove we can do it? A demonstration? Exactly. Both sides are engineers and scientists under all that military posturing. Show them something that shouldn't be possible, and they'll have to reconsider everything they think they know. Hayes thought about this. It was risky, but it might work. If she could convince both sides that humans had found a way to make their war pointless, they might be willing to listen to alternatives. There's another factor we haven't considered, added Dr. Carter. Both civilizations are exhausted. Their economies are collapsing, their populations are declining, and their technology is stagnating because everything goes into the war effort. Deep down, they want this to end. They just don't know how to stop without losing face. Hayes stood and walked to the window. Outside, she could see the distant flashes of light that marked another skirmish between alien patrols. More lives lost for no reason except habit and pride. All right, she said finally. Here's what we're going to do. Tony, I want you to build a working Nethy synthesizer as fast as possible. Even if it only produces a few grams, we need proof that it works. Sarah, I want detailed psychological profiles of both alien commanders. What would it take to make them reconsider their positions without losing face? Maria, I need you to figure out how to frame our intervention in terms both sides can accept. We're not ending their war, we're giving them a better one to fight. The threat worked for exactly 4 hours. Both alien fleets stopped their advance and demanded to know what the humans meant by their warning. Admiral Hayes used that time to put the most dangerous plan in human history into action. Tony, please. Tell me you have something that looks like it works, Hayes said as she rushed into the science lab. Dr. Rodriguez stood over a device that looked like a metal box covered in blinking lights and humming crystals. It's not pretty, but it should produce about 10 grams of synthetic Nethys in the next hour, Rodriguez replied, wiping sweat from his forehead. The quantum field generator is holding stable, and the molecular assembly process is running smoothly. Hayes looked at the machine with relief and terror in equal measure. 10 grams wasn't much, but it would be enough to prove that humans could do the impossible. The question was whether the aliens would see it as salvation or threat. Admiral, Lieutenant Colonel Sam Davis called from the communications station. Both alien commanders are demanding immediate explanations. Admiral Vex is threatening to resume combat operations, and Commander Threx says the Zoran fleet will not be intimidated by unknown species. Hayes had expected this reaction. Threats only worked when people believed you could carry them out. But she had something better than threats now. She had hope to offer instead of fear. Put me through to both flagships simultaneously, Hayes ordered. It's time to show them something amazing. The main screen split to show Admiral Vex on the left and Commander Threx on the right. Both alien leaders looked angry and suspicious. Behind them, Hayes could see their bridge crews preparing for battle. Human Admiral, Vex said through the translation system, your threats are meaningless. We have tolerated your interference long enough. Stand aside or be destroyed with our enemies. Threx's biomechanical voice buzzed with irritation. The Zoran collective fears no one. Your small fleet cannot prevent the justice we will deliver. Today, Hayes smiled calmly. Gentlemen, I'm not here to threaten you. I'm here to give you both exactly what you've been fighting for, victory. Both commanders looked confused. Impossible, Vex stated. There can be only one victor in this war. Wrong, Hayes replied. There can be 2 victors if the prize is big enough for everyone. Let me show you something that will change everything. She nodded to Dr. Rodriguez, who activated a holographic display showing the molecular structure of Nethys. The image rotated slowly, showing every detail of the rare mineral that had caused 37 years of war. This is Nethys as it occurs in nature, Hayes explained. Rare, valuable, worth fighting over. Now watch this. The hologram changed to show the synthetic version Rodriguez had created. The structure was identical in every way that mattered, but small differences showed. It was artificially made? This is synthetic Nethys, created by human technology. It has the same properties, the same energy storage capacity, the same industrial applications. But there's one big difference: we can make as much as we want. The silence from both alien commanders was deafening. Finally, Vex spoke in a voice barely above a whisper. You claim to have created Nethes? That is impossible. No one has ever successfully synthesized quantum storage crystals. Humans have, Hayes said simply. Would you like to see a demonstration? Before either commander could answer, Hayes activated another holographic display. This one showed live footage from the Liberty's cargo bay, where Rodriguez's machine hummed and sparked as it worked. Dr. Rodriguez, Hayes called out, how much synthetic Nethes have we produced so far? Rodriguez checked his instruments. 15 grams and counting, Admiral. The process is stable and could run indefinitely with sufficient power. The effect on both alien commanders was immediate and dramatic. Vex's crystal armor flickered with colors Hayes had never seen before, probably indicating extreme shock or confusion. Threx's biomechanical systems made worried chittering sounds as his ship tried to process this impossible information. This changes nothing, Vex said, but his voice lacked conviction. Even if you can produce small amounts, the natural deposits on Nexus Prime are still valuable. Hayes nodded. You're absolutely right. The natural deposits are still valuable. But they're also unnecessary. Watch this. She switched the display to show readouts from human industrial replicators. Numbers scrolled past showing theoretical production rates for synthetic Nethes. With our current equipment, we could produce enough synthetic Nethes to supply both your civilizations for 50 years. If we built dedicated facilities, we could make the mineral so common that it would cost less than dirt. Commander Threx leaned forward in his command chair. You would do this? You would give this technology to us? Better than that, Hayes replied. We'll give you the Nethes itself, free of charge. As much as you need, whenever you need it. The only condition is that you stop killing each other. The proposition hung in space between the three fleets like an unexploded bomb. Hayes could see both alien commanders struggling to process what they had heard. 37 years of war, suddenly made pointless by alien technology they didn't understand. There must be a trick, Vex said finally. No species gives away such valuable resources without wanting something in return. Hayes had anticipated this suspicion. You're right, we do want something in return. We want friends instead of enemies. We want trading partners instead of warriors. We want to explore the galaxy with civilizations that solve problems instead of creating them. She gestured toward the tactical display showing both alien fleets poised for battle. Right now, you're using your best minds to build better weapons. Your finest engineers design new ways to kill. Your greatest scientists spend their time creating destruction instead of discovery. Imagine what you could accomplish if all that intelligence was focused on creation instead of destruction. Imagine the wonders you could build, the mysteries you could solve, the places you could explore. Threx's living ship pulsed with what might have been curiosity. And if we refuse your offer? If we choose to continue our war? Hayes shrugged. Then you continue your war. We can't force you to be peaceful, but we can make your war irrelevant. Every gram of synthetic Nethes we produce makes the natural deposits less valuable. Every day you fight is a day we get further ahead in technology and production. Eventually, both your civilizations will collapse from the economic strain of endless war. When that happens, we'll still be here, ready to help anyone who wants to build instead of destroy. Admiral Vex stood up from his command chair and walked closer to his screen. His crystal armor reflected the bridge lights as he moved, creating patterns that seemed to indicate deep thought. Human Admiral, you present us with an impossible choice. If we accept your offer, we abandon everything we have fought for. Our ancestors would consider us cowards and traitors. Hayes nodded sympathetically. I understand that concern. But let me ask you something. What would your ancestors think if they knew you had the chance to end all suffering and chose war instead? What would they say if they learned you could give your people prosperity and peace, but you picked pride and destruction? Commander Threx made a sound that the translator couldn't interpret. His biomechanical features shifted into expressions that might have indicated conflict or confusion. The human speaks truth, Threx admitted reluctantly. Our people are tired of war. Our worlds grow weak from constant battle. Our children ask why they must die for causes they do not understand. But honor demands ... Vex began. Honor, Hayes interrupted gently, is not about fighting until everyone is dead. Honor is about protecting your people and securing their future. Real honor is having the courage to choose peace when peace is possible. She activated one final display showing population statistics for both civilizations. The numbers were grim, declining birth rates, increasing casualties, economic collapse, technological stagnation. Gentlemen, you are both losing this war, not to each other, but to war itself. Every day you continue fighting, both your species get weaker. Every battle you fight brings you closer to mutual extinction. We're offering you a way out that lets both sides win. You keep your honor by choosing to save your people. You keep your pride by being smart enough to recognize opportunity when it appears. The three fleets hung in space while both alien commanders considered this unprecedented offer. Hayes could see activity on both flagships as the leaders consulted with their advisors and staff. Finally, Admiral Vex spoke. What guarantee do we have that you will keep your word? How do we know you will not use this advantage against us later? Hayes had one more card to play. Because we're going to give you the technology to make your own synthetic Nethies. Complete production facilities, full technical specifications, training for your engineers. Within a year, both of you will be able to produce as much as you need, without depending on us. This announcement caused visible shockwaves through both alien fleets. Communications channels lit up with frantic chatter as the implications sank in. You would give us your technology? Threx asked. Your industrial secrets? Your competitive advantage? Competition assumes we're enemies, Hayes replied. We'd rather have you as partners. The galaxy is big enough for all of us to prosper together. She looked directly at both commanders through the screen. The choice is yours, gentlemen. The hour passed slowly. Admiral Hayes watched both alien fleets through the Liberty's main view screen, looking for any sign of movement or decision. Both groups of ships remained perfectly still, like metal sculptures frozen in space. Admiral, Communications Officer Danny White reported, we're picking up massive amounts of internal communications from both fleets. It sounds like they're having heated discussions about our offer. Hayes nodded. She had expected this. 37 years of war couldn't be ended with a simple yes or no answer. Both civilizations had built their entire identities around this conflict. Asking them to abandon it was like asking them to become completely different people. Any signs of weapons charging or hostile movement? She asked Commander Rivers. No, ma'am. Both fleets are maintaining defensive positions, but no one is preparing for attack. I think they're actually considering your proposal seriously. Dr. Rodriguez approached Hayes with a tablet showing production data. Admiral, the synthetic Nethies generator is working perfectly. We've produced nearly 1 kilogram in the last hour. At this rate, we could supply both civilizations' immediate needs within a few days. Hayes took the tablet and studied the numbers. 1 kilogram of Nethies represented enormous wealth by galactic standards. The fact that humans could produce it so easily would fundamentally change the economic balance of this entire region of space. Keep it running, Tony. If they say yes to our offer, we need to be ready to deliver immediately. If they say no ... She paused. Well, if they say no, we'll need all the leverage we can get. Lieutenant Colonel Sam Davis looked up from his station with concern. Admiral, what if they decide to work together against us? United, those two fleets could probably destroy us before we could escape. It was a valid worry. Hayes had gambled everything on the assumption that pride and hatred would prevent the aliens from uniting against a common threat. But desperate people sometimes made unexpected choices. That's why we're not giving them time to think about it, Hayes replied. Fear makes people do stupid things, but hope makes them do smart things. We gave them hope, not fear. The communication alert sounded exactly 59 minutes after Hayes had made her ultimatum. Both alien commanders appeared on the main screen simultaneously, their faces showing the strain of the most difficult decision in their civilization's history. Admiral Vex spoke first, his crystal armor flickering with nervous energy. Human Admiral, the Caliph Empire has reached a decision. But before we announce it, we require clarification on several points. Commander Threx nodded agreement. The Zoran Collective shares these concerns. Your offer seems too generous to. Be genuine. What are your true motivations? Hayes had prepared for this question. Our motivation is simple: survival. Not just our survival, but everyone's survival. We're new to this galaxy and we need friends more than we need enemies. Dead civilizations can't be friends or trading partners. She gestured toward the tactical display. Look at your battle formations. Even now, with peace within reach, you're both ready to resume fighting at a moment's notice. That tells us everything we need to know about how this war will end if it continues. Both your civilizations will destroy each other eventually. When that happens, we'll be alone in a galaxy full of empty worlds and dead dreams. We'd rather share a living galaxy with friends than rule over a graveyard. Vex's crystalline features showed surprise at this reasoning. You fear loneliness more than conquest? We fear waste more than anything, Hayes replied. The waste of intelligence, creativity, and potential that war always brings. You're both brilliant species with incredible achievements. The galaxy is better with you in it than without you. Threx's biomechanical systems hummed thoughtfully. And you believe this synthetic mineral can truly end our conflict? Hayes nodded. Not by itself. The mineral is just a tool. What ends conflicts is the decision to stop fighting. We're just making that decision easier by removing the excuse. For war, she activated a holographic display showing production projections. Within 6 months, we can establish synthetic Nethys facilities in both your territories. Within a year, the mineral will be so common that fighting over it would be like going to war over sand or water. Your choice isn't really about Nethys anymore. It's about what kind of civilizations you want to be. Do you want to be remembered as the species that chose wisdom over pride, or as the ones who fought until there was nothing left to fight for? Both alien commanders fell silent for several minutes. Hayes could see activity on their bridges as they consulted with advisors and fleet commanders. This wasn't just a decision for two individuals, it was a choice that would define the future of billions of people. Finally, Admiral Vex straightened in his command chair. The Caliph Empire accepts your proposal with conditions. We require guarantees that the Zoran will honor any peace agreement. We demand equal access to synthetic Nethys production. And we insist on compensation for 37 years of losses and damages. Before Hayes could respond, Commander Threx spoke up. The Zoran Collective also accepts with our own conditions. We require assurance that Caliph forces will withdraw from disputed territories. We demand recognition of our historical claims to the Nexus system. And we insist on reparations for the unprovoked attacks that started this war. Hayes felt her heart sink. Even in accepting peace, both sides were trying to win the war. They wanted all the benefits of ending the conflict while still claiming victory over their enemies. Gentlemen, Hayes said firmly, you're missing the point. There are no winners and losers in this deal. There are only survivors. If you want to spend the next year arguing about who gets what, you're welcome to do that while your people keep dying. She stood up and walked closer to the screen. But let me make something crystal clear. The offer I made was for peace, not victory. If either of you tries to use our technology to gain advantage over the other, the deal is off. We'll take our synthetic Nethys and find someone else to trade with. You want conditions? Here are the only conditions that matter. Both fleets withdraw to neutral positions immediately. All hostilities cease within the next hour. Joint teams begin planning shared Nethys production facilities tomorrow morning. Anyone who breaks these conditions loses access to synthetic Nethys forever. The alien commanders looked shocked at Hayes' sudden firmness. They had expected to negotiate terms and conditions like any normal treaty. Hayes was giving them an ultimatum disguised as an offer. You have 10 minutes to decide, Hayes continued. Yes means peace for everyone. No means war until you're all dead. Partial acceptance means no deal at all. She cut the communication link, leaving both alien commanders staring at blank screens. Admiral, Commander Rivers said quietly. That was risky. They might choose to fight rather than accept your terms. Hayes remained watching the alien fleets through the view screen. Paul, sometimes you have to make the choice so simple that even proud people can see the right answer. They can have everything they need, or they can have nothing at all. Pride is expensive, but stupidity is fatal. The 10 minutes felt like 10 hours. Both alien fleets remained motionless while their commanders wrestled with the hardest decision of their lives. Hayes could imagine the conversations happening on those ships. Veterans who had fought their entire careers being asked to simply stop. Politicians who had built careers on war being told to choose peace. Families who had lost loved ones being asked to forgive their enemies. At exactly 9 minutes and 47 seconds. Both communication channels activated simultaneously. Admiral Vex appeared on the left side of the screen, his crystal armor now glowing with steady blue light. The Calith Empire accepts your terms unconditionally. We are powering down all weapon systems and withdrawing to neutral positions. Commander Threx appeared on the right, his biomechanical features arranged in what might have been relief. The Zoran Collective accepts your terms. Our fleets are standing down and awaiting further instructions. Hayes felt a wave of relief so strong it nearly knocked her over. Gentlemen, you have just made the smartest decision in the history of both your civilizations. Dr. Rodriguez will begin coordinating synthetic Nethi shipments immediately. Dr. Santos will establish communication protocols for joint planning sessions, and I will personally guarantee that this peace holds. The effects were immediate and dramatic. Across both fleets, weapons powered down, shields lowered, and ships began moving to non-threatening positions. For the first time in 37 years, the space around Nexus Prime was peaceful. Admiral, Dr. Kim called from her station, I'm reading massive changes in both fleet formations. They're actually doing it. They're ending the war. Hayes watched as hundreds of ships that had been ready to destroy each other just minutes ago began working together to establish neutral zones and communication protocols. It was like watching a miracle unfold in real time. Captain Morrison opened a channel from his ship. Admiral, we're receiving cooperation requests from both sides. They want to begin joint surveys of Nexus Prime tomorrow morning. Scientists from both civilizations working together for the first time in decades. Hayes smiled. Grant all requests, Jake, and make sure our people are there to supervise. This piece is going to need careful tending for a while.